Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am working on a page and a half in my Project Life album. Um, I'm working today with the July 2020 Pocket Life Hip Kit, and I believe I also pull in a couple pieces from the August, hang on, the August Allie Edwards Stories by the Month. There's a couple stickers later on that I'll use from that. And then also a few of Ellie's Studio stamps. So today I'm working on week number 28. And this is about the second, third week of July. And this was, COVID full swing. As far as like jobs go, my family really hasn't been affected, and I'm grateful for that. But there's not a whole lot going on in our life. My husband has discovered Snapchat, so most of my photos recently have been of silly photos of him, and two of the largest photos in this layout are three photos each of him with these filters, and we just crack up constantly. Sending these things back and forth all day. It's hysterical. He is very anti social media. Well, he was there for a while with just like Facebook. Then he grew to Instagram, and then it was like, oh, Snapchat. That's just for younger kids. I don't do that. Well, here we are. So the larger photos are of him, and there's a lot going on in those. So instead of really making them very embellishment heavy, since they were very full of color, I was pulling out the washi, which I find very hard to use, and I'm trying to discipline myself to use it more. So I just took a piece of it and put it at the bottom of those and kind of use it as a grounding point for a couple of enamel dots and some words that I'll eventually put on there. But the title card, though, I'm using it using the 3x4, the one on the left there with the palm leaves. I will eventually add in a few of the palm stickers, which they're a transparent sticker. So I do put those on white paper or a cardstock, whatever scrap paper I have laying on my desk is what I usually use, as long as it's white. Then it kind of gives it more of a cardstock feel. And then I fussy cut those out and use them more as like an embellishment ephemera piece as opposed to a sticker. I didn't want the background of the card to be seen through the leaves, so that's why I did that. I pulled some labels out from this little drawer that I have, and I have a huge stash of labels from Elle Studio and from Studio Calico Kits from, my goodness, probably like 8 years ago, and I'm really trying hard to go through and use my stash, and I'm doing pretty good, I must say. But I have this drawer full of labels that I'm trying to reach for and use up, and that's where these two labels came from. And I'm going to use those to put my week number 28 stamp on there, and then the green label below it I will use for the dates. The photo there to the right is of a cake. My husband decided to do a job change in the middle of this pandemic. It was a very good career move for him, I must say. He was at this place for almost 12 years. I think it was a couple months shy of 12 years, and things had just gotten bad, like real bad. I mean, the company was still doing well, but a lot of crooked things happening, and it was just time, and he was ready to move on, and it wasn't who he wanted to be anymore. So he made a job change, a career change, I should say, in the middle of the pandemic, and the guys were really bummed to see him go. So They got him a cake. They had a huge cookout for him the last day that he was there. But this cake, I took a picture of it not only to mark that this was the last week that he worked there, but y'all, if you would have seen this cake, I don't think I've ever seen this much icing on anything before. Like, I don't even think that there was this much icing on my 3-tiered wedding cake. This was like a normal quarter sheet size sheet cake, and the amount of icing with the balloons was hysterical. And then they wanted to put on their best of luck homie, and I think they spelled homie wrong. So that just added to it. So we documented it for a couple reasons. It definitely will be a cake that he will never forget. But alongside of, Snapchat and job changing, there really wasn't going out. There really wasn't anything going on. And we were kind of preparing for that, I guess, maybe at the whole beginning of the pandemic. And before things started to get a little sparse, we were like, well, we better find something for my kids to do. We have 2 younger boys, and if they're stuck at home and they're not going to be able to go anywhere or to the pool or to whatever, we need to find something for these kids to do, because they're not going to be in the house playing video games. They can only ride their bikes so much where we live. So we decided to get them a kiddie pool. And the photos on the right are of this kiddie pool. It's probably a 5x10 rectangular blow up oversized kiddie pool. Water's like 1.5 feet deep, and I think we use it more than the kids do. Now it's so funny, but my son was in it this day, and my husband decided to jump in with us, and it was so funny because he's not a home pool kid or a home pool person. My youngest son up at the top photo, he'll be in it. He'd be in it all day long if I let him. But my husband, would definitely captured this one because he actually got in and he fell asleep. So I found the perfect sticker in this hip kit that said mentally somewhere else, and it fit it perfectly. So I'm pulling out a bunch of stamps that I recently got from Elle Studios grab bag. She does them every once in a while, and the last few times I've wanted to do the stamp because I usually get the tags, which are the 3x4 and the 4x6 cards, or the die cut pieces. But I usually miss out on the stamps. But this time I was early enough and able to snag them, and I got 2 sets of them, which I got 6 different stamps, and this stamp here was one of them. And I don't know if I would necessarily use like that ribbon, but there is a lot on this stamp that I know I'll use, and I've already used the heck out of that line stamp. I sometimes I'm okay drawing straight lines to journal on, but I would prefer not. So I pulled that off and used that on that teal splash card there in the center on the right, just to add my journaling. And then I will eventually go back in by that top right leaf there, and add a really cute pair of sunglasses and some enamel dots, and then another sticker that says Free Spirit, because that literally just describes this day from the photo of both my son and my husband. So yeah, those are those sunglasses, or not sunglasses, well, maybe they are sunglasses, but I backed it up on a piece of white cardstock as well. When I put them down, you could start to see that green leaf behind that right part of it. And again, I didn't want that. I wanted it to be a solid white piece. So I put that on the cardstock and just fussy cut it out right around the edge. It's a good option to do, especially if you don't want something transparent. It gives you the option that you could move it around a little bit more. So yeah, it's definitely a fave of mine to do. I do end up popping that up on a little bit of foam adhesive once I get that leaf stuck down. Even though I'm working in my my pocket pages, I do like to add a little bit of a dimension, not a whole lot. I don't use like the circle or the square double-sided foam that you can get at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or Joann's. I like to use the sheets of adhesive back. Oh geez, what's that called? Y'all are probably yelling it at the screen right now. Foam. There it is. The sheets of foam that have the one side of adhesive on it. It's the thickness of that foam isn't as thick as some of the other stuff, so I like that because it's a little bit thinner. So I tend to use that in my project life. That way I can still pop things up, give it that separation and depth, but yet it's not so bulky that it really affects my albums. These cute little puffy stickers were in this kit, and I have a hard time, I have to confess, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but this hip kit, their cards are gorgeous, which is the real reason why I decided to subscribe to this kit. I love their exclusive cards. But sometimes I have a hard time with the embellishments. Now, like the cards, they tied in very well with the sticker sheets, which were the Dear Lizzie collection, I think. I don't have it right beside me, but I'm pretty sure it's a Dear Lizzie collection. The cards work beautifully with those stickers. And then we go to Maggie Holmes' Sweet Story, which kind of has the same color scheme, but it's a completely different style for me. So I have a hard time mixing in with that more, it's almost like a vintagey bright. I have a hard time mixing that in with the very straight line, graphic, bright, bold colors of that Dear Lizzie and their cards. So that's something that I just have to learn to try to work better with. But there were some elements in that puffy sticker sheet that worked very well, and I added a few bits of those around to help pull in some extra little touches and some texture. So once I was done with that, I went back into my stash and pulled out my drawer of enamel dots, and I added a bunch of enamel dots. Like I went enamel dot heavy. Again, it's one of those drawers that I have in my stash that I'm trying to use because there are things in this drawer that have probably come from Joann's 10 years ago. So using up a bunch of my enamel dots, adding my journaling on my cards, and calling this layout done. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.